After my daughter was accepted into a prestigious art school, we held a small party. The neighbor walked by, looked at the decorations, and said, "Hope she's not one of those sensitive types. The world eats them alive." I ignored him. That night, her artwork, stored in our garage, was burned. All of it. The police said the fire was started with Accelerant. We found the empty can in his recycling bin, but no one saw him do it. Then my daughter showed me her school account, where someone had just tried to submit one of her pieces under a new name. We live in a small neighborhood in Vallejo, California. Quiet place, or at least it used to be. People keep to themselves. Houses are close together, but the silence between neighbors might as well be miles wide. We moved here 6 years ago after I left my job in Sacramento and found cheaper housing closer to the water. It was supposed to be a fresh start. My daughter, Mia, was 13 then. She's 18 now. And somehow, through everything, me working nights, her growing up without a mother, she turned out better than I could have ever hoped for. Kind, thoughtful, stubborn as hell. And gifted. I mean really gifted. She could draw the way other kids breathe. I used to come home from my shift and find her asleep at the kitchen table, smudges of charcoal on her face, hands black with ink. She didn't go out much. No parties. No boyfriends. Her world was her art. Her dream was to get into the Royal Institute of Art in San Francisco. Tough school to crack. Expensive. Competitive. But she worked for it. 4 years. Every contest, every scholarship application, every teacher recommendation. She built a portfolio that could make grown artists feel insecure. Then she got the letter. Full ride. All 4 years. Housing included. It was everything. We threw her a party. Not a big one. Just some close family, a few people from church, her art teacher Mrs. Rinaldi, and a couple of her quiet friends. We hung a banner across the porch that said she made it, in red letters. We had a folding table with cupcakes and sandwiches and cheap sparkling cider. And Tom. Tom lives 2 houses down. Mid-50s. Gruff. Doesn't wave, doesn't smile. The kind of man who sees kids riding bikes and mutters about the damn noise. Retired military or something, he never says. Always outside working on the same section of his fence like he's trying to dig a hole to hell. He walked by that day. Looked at the decorations. Looked at Mia. Then he said it. Hope she's not one of those sensitive types. The world eats them alive. He didn't even stop walking. Just threw it out there and kept going. I didn't say anything. Just stared after him, jaw tight. Didn't want to make a scene. Later that night, around 1:30 a.m., I woke up to the sound of sirens and Mia screaming my name. I ran to the window and saw orange light glowing from the backyard. Smoke pouring out from under the garage door. The fire department got there fast. But it was too late. The fire had gutted the garage. The smell was awful: plastic, paint, wood, chemicals. Burned black. The firefighters said it looked like it started near the old shelving unit where Mia had stored her art supplies. Her sketchbooks, canvases, digital prints. Everything. All gone. The fire captain pulled me aside later and said it looked suspicious. Told me they'd found signs of Accelerant. I didn't even know what that meant at first. But then he held up a blackened metal can they'd pulled from the bushes beside the fence. Paint thinner. A day later, when the investigators checked the trash bins on the street, ours, the neighbors, everybody's, they found an identical can in Tom's recycling. Same size, same label, same product code. Police came. Asked questions. Knocked on Tom's door. He stood there, calm as hell, said he had no idea what they were talking about. Claimed he used paint thinner a few days back on his fence. Said maybe a raccoon knocked it out. Smirked. And nothing happened. No arrest. No charges. No proof. I wanted to scream. Mia didn't speak for 2 days. She just sat in her room, staring at the wall. Her hands were still. This girl who used to draw through storms, funerals, breakups, her hands were still. Then 4 days after the fire, she called me into her room. She had her laptop open. Said, "Dad, look at this." Her school had given her a student portal. It's where new students upload their portfolios so professors can review them. She'd been trying to re-upload scans of the pieces she lost, just so they had something on file. That's when she saw it. One of her pieces, one of her best, a pencil portrait of her late grandmother, was already uploaded. But not under her name. It was listed under someone named R. Garrett. She checked the account. It had a fake student ID, a short bio claiming they were from Vallejo, and 2 more of her stolen works. Someone had taken digital versions of her art and submitted them under a fake name. We contacted the school. They flagged the account immediately. Their IT department checked the login history. The account had been created from a public IP address, traced to the Vallejo Public Library. The same one 3 blocks from Tom's house. I called the cops again. Told them everything. They said they'd look into it, but without direct evidence, they couldn't link it to him. No prints. No camera footage. Just circumstantial stuff. He'd burned her work. Then he tried to steal her future. And the world wasn't going to do a damn thing about it. But I would. I didn't care what it took. He was going to regret ever speaking my daughter's name. I didn't tell Mia what I planned. I didn't want her involved. She still believed in rules, in fairness. I used to, too. But after watching her face fall every time someone said there's nothing we can do, I realized something. Fairness is for people with power. The rest of us have to make our own justice. So I started watching Tom. Every day after my shift. I parked 2 blocks away and walked past his house like I was just getting exercise. I noticed things. He left every Tuesday morning around 8 a.m. gone for about an hour. Drove an old blue Ford with a dented door. License plate hanging by 1 screw. He'd come back with coffee and dry cleaning, like he was pretending to live a normal life. He never had visitors. Never brought packages in. Never talked to anyone but the mailman, and even then just grunted. The more I watched him, the more I saw something off. He didn't just dislike people, he avoided them. He kept to shadows. Kept his blinds drawn all day. At night, he'd sit on the back porch with a beer and stare out at the dark like he was waiting for something. One Saturday, I walked by as he was wheeling his trash to the curb. He looked at me, didn't smile. I stopped and looked him right in the eye. "You're a thief," I said, plain and quiet. He didn't flinch. Just said, "Prove it." And walked back inside. That was the moment I knew I had to go further. Words weren't going to scare him. He thought he was untouchable. So I did what he didn't expect. I played dirtier. I called a friend of mine from high school, Jorge. He owed me a favor. Used to run IT for a security company in Richmond. He knew how to trace data trails better than most cops. I asked him for help tracking the computer that submitted me as stolen art. 2 days later, Jorge called me and said, "I can't say for sure it was him. But the library account was accessed 5 times. Same days and times someone matching his build entered the building, based on the camera at the front desk. He sat at the same corner computer every time." "You want timestamps?" I did. I wanted everything. Then Jorge paused and said, "You should also know, he printed something while he was there." "What?" I asked. "A fake acceptance letter." My blood went cold. He had created a fake version of Mia's letter. Changed the name. Printed it. Jorge pulled the print job from the library's records. It had been deleted from the system, but not the cache. The file was named Garrett_R_acceptance. He wasn't just stealing her art. He was trying to become her. That night, I broke into Tom's backyard. I wore gloves. Covered my face. Made sure no cameras caught me. I didn't go in the house, just checked his trash bin and his shed. In the bin, under fast food wrappers and crushed beer cans, I found shredded paper. I took the bag. Back home, I spent hours piecing it together. It was the fake letter. Same font. Same school seal. Only the name was different. Reed Garrett. He'd even forged a welcome message from the dean. It hit me then. This man wasn't just cruel. He was mentally sick. He was trying to become the young artist he destroyed. He wanted the praise, the talent, the future. But he couldn't have it. And I wasn't going to stop until I tore down everything he touched. I didn't sleep much after that. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw him sitting at that library computer, staring at my daughter's art like it belonged to him. I saw the fire. The empty can. Mia's face. I had proof now, shaky, but enough to push further. I brought the shredded letter to the police. The officer looked at it like I handed him a kid's craft project. "This is compelling," he said, "but unless we can tie it directly to him, like fingerprints or video, it's still circumstantial." I asked him how much more they needed. He didn't answer. Just sighed and slid the papers back toward me. Mia stayed quiet through all of this. She kept to her room, redrawing her old pieces from memory. I could hear her crying some nights. Soft, like she didn't want me to hear. Like she felt ashamed for breaking. That pissed me off even more. So I dug deeper. Jorge ran another sweep. He found something we hadn't seen before. Apparently, Tom had made a new email account just weeks before the fire, readgarrett34@gmail.com. That was the email used to register on the art school portal. It had also sent out emails to local galleries, using Mia's work as a portfolio. One gallery had replied. Said they'd be interested in displaying one of the portraits. Tom had responded, "Glad to hear it. I can bring the original by next week." That was the moment it clicked. He hadn't just wanted to steal her identity. He was trying to sell her art. To cash in. He was going to walk into that gallery, introduce himself as Reed Garrett, and take money for my daughter's work. I called the gallery, told them everything. The woman on the phone, Denise, was shaken. Said she'd never had anything like that happen before. Asked if she should call the cops. No, I told her. Let him come in. Just delay the payment. She agreed. We had a trap now. But then something happened that threw everything sideways. 2 days before he was supposed to show up at the gallery, Mia disappeared. I came home from work and her room was empty. Her phone was on the bed, battery dead. Her sketchbook was gone. I panicked. Called everyone. Her friends, her teachers. No one had seen her. Then I checked the front door camera. There she was, leaving around 1:15 p.m. backpack on. No hesitation. She wasn't running. She was calm. I checked the bus schedule. There was a city bus that stopped 2 blocks down at 1:10 p.m. and headed straight toward downtown. Toward the library. My stomach sank. I called Jorge. Asked him to check if the Reed Garrett account had been accessed again. He called back an hour later. Yeah, he said. It was accessed today. From the library. Right before 2 p.m. Then he paused. But it wasn't him. It was her. Mia had gone into the library. Logged into his fake account. Saw everything. She didn't come home that night. I didn't sleep. Just sat in the living room, staring at the front door, waiting. She came back the next morning. Eyes red. Face hard. I went to see him, she said. My chest tightened. You what? I waited outside his house until he came out to take the trash. Then I walked right up to him. Mia. She raised her hand to stop me. I asked him why. Why he burned it. Why he stole my name. My work. You know what he said? I didn't answer. She looked at me and whispered, he said I didn't deserve it. That's when I saw it, something in her had snapped. And not in a weak way. In a dangerous way. She wasn't just sad anymore. She wanted revenge, too. And I didn't know how far she was willing to go. Mia didn't say much after that. She went to her room and stayed there the rest of the day. No drawing. No music. Just silence. Like she was planning something. I tried to talk to her that night, standing outside her door. Mia, I need to know what you said to him. She didn't answer. I need to know what he said back. Still nothing. The next morning, I found an envelope on the kitchen table. Inside were printed screenshots from the fake account, emails, login times, and messages from Reed Garrett to galleries, professors, even a few small freelance job sites. She had dug through everything. She had it all lined up. She had done what the police didn't bother to do. I took it all to Officer Daniels, the one who had originally handled the arson case. He flipped through the papers like they were homework assignments. Where'd you get this? He asked. My daughter. She got into the account. He frowned. You know that's technically illegal, right? I just stared at him. What he did was illegal. What she did was surviving. Daniel sighed. Said he'd forward it to the DA, but didn't promise anything. It's tricky, he said. A good lawyer could still argue circumstantial. No video, no physical evidence. But it's building. Keep records of everything. We were on our own. Still. Then, 3 days before Tom's gallery appointment, something strange happened. The gallery called me. Mr. Hastings, the woman said, Denise, the one I spoke to before. You should know, the artist, Reed Garrett, dropped off a piece early. It's already hanging in our front room. I stood in the kitchen, heart pounding. You're sure it was him? Oh yes. Same guy you described. Thin, older, baseball cap. He said he wanted it in place early, to make an impression. I told her to stall him if he came back. She agreed. Then I asked her to do one more thing. Put a plaque under the art, I said. Label it with the real artist's name. My daughter's name. Just for a day. She hesitated. Just a day, I repeated. That night, I told Mia. She just nodded. 2 days later, we both walked into the gallery. The piece he dropped off, it was one of Mia's stolen works. A self-portrait. Dark, detailed, stunning. It used to hang over her desk before the fire. And there, beneath it, a little silver plaque, original work by Mia Hastings. As we stood there, people started filtering in. A small weekend crowd. Some paused to admire the work. One man took a photo. Another asked where she was showing next. Mia stood silently, staring at her own stolen work, now reclaimed. Then, at exactly noon, Tom walked in. He looked older in the daylight. Hunched. Eyes twitching. The moment he saw the plaque, he froze. I stepped in front of Mia. He saw me, then her, then the crowd. His face turned red. What the hell is this? Denise stepped forward, calm and polite. There was a correction on the artist's identity. We verified the true creator. He looked at Mia. You little. Say it, I warned, stepping closer. He glanced around. People were watching now. Curious, confused. Whispers started. Mia looked him in the eye. Calm. Sharp. You burned everything I had, she said. And you still couldn't make anything worth stealing. He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. Denise cleared her throat. We've contacted the school. They're investigating identity fraud. You should probably leave before we call security. That was when it happened. As Tom turned to go, someone at the door snapped a photo of him. Then another. Then someone asked, "Wait, isn't that the guy who submitted the forged letter?" Apparently, word had already started to spread. The school had flagged his name publicly in a fraud bulletin sent to art institutions across the state. Someone from another gallery recognized his face. Tom's mask cracked. He lunged for the painting. But he didn't get far. A man in the crowd tackled him before he reached it. Denise shouted for security. They dragged him out, kicking, screaming, shouting about how he was the real artist, how Mia didn't understand real pain. The last thing I heard him yell was, "She doesn't deserve it." Mia didn't flinch. She just watched. Silent. Still. But her hands were no longer shaking. They were steady. Tom was arrested that day. The gallery pressed charges for attempted vandalism and trespassing. The school opened a full investigation, and once they connected the email account, the forged letter, and the false identity, they sent a cease and desist to every gallery and competition that had even touched Reed Garrett's submissions. Mia was reinstated as the official artist for all her stolen work. But justice didn't feel as clean as I thought it would. Tom didn't stay in jail long. The charges weren't heavy enough, and the court didn't care about art theft the way they would if it were money or physical assault. He got probation, a fine, and a restraining order. That was it. The fire? Still officially unsolved. Even though we knew. Even though everyone knew. The part that stung most? He didn't care. Even after being publicly humiliated, he still walked with his head high when I saw him. Still mowed his lawn. Still looked at my house when he thought I wasn't watching. And Mia, she wasn't the same. She still drew. But less. Her lines were sharper. Angrier. Sometimes she ripped pages halfway through. She smiled less. Laughed less. Something in her had hardened. Like Tom had taken a piece of her that would never come back. And that's where my mistake came in. I thought taking him down publicly would be enough. I thought if I embarrassed him, showed the world what he was, it would be over. But it wasn't. One night, a month after the gallery incident, I came home and found our front window cracked. Just a small chip. Not big enough to break the glass. But deliberate. There was no note. No rock. Nothing obvious. But I knew. And Mia knew too. She didn't say anything when I told her. Just nodded. The next morning, she was gone again. No phone. No message. No goodbye. She came back after dark. Clothes dirty. Fingernails scraped raw. She looked tired. Shaken. But not afraid. I asked where she went. She didn't answer. That night, I couldn't sleep. So I walked outside. Took a flashlight and followed the path behind our houses, the one that runs along the back fence. Halfway down, I smelled it. Burnt plastic. Charred wood. I climbed up onto the back hill behind Tom's place and looked down. His shed was gone. Ashes. Just a black square of cinders where it used to be. No sirens. No one called it in. He must have covered it up. But I saw the scorch marks on the fence. The melted metal pieces still glowing faint in the moonlight. I went back inside. Mia was in bed. Pretending to sleep. I sat down in the chair by her door and didn't say a word. Not then. Not for days. Because I knew what she had done. And part of me wanted to stop her. But another part of me, the angry, broken part, felt something else. Relief. He burned her art. He stole her name. He tried to wear her skin like it was a costume he deserved more than she did. And now he knew. She wasn't weak. She wasn't one of those sensitive types the world eats alive. She had claws. Tom didn't report the fire. Not officially. But he packed up and moved out a few weeks later. Quietly. No goodbye. No for sale sign. Just gone. The house sat empty for months. Sometimes, I walk past it and look through the windows. It's quiet now. But sometimes, when the wind hits just right, I swear I can still smell that chemical burn. Mia started school in the fall. Royal Institute took her in with open arms. One of the professors had followed the whole mess and personally asked her to join a mentorship program. She doesn't talk about Tom. Or that summer. Or the fire. But her final project that first semester was a mixed media piece. It was a portrait. An older man, mouth open in a scream, eyes filled with fear, surrounded by ash and shadows. She called it The Imposter. It won first place. And when I asked her how she came up with it, she just said, "I wanted to show what it feels like, to watch everything you stole go up in flames." She didn't smile. But I did. Because justice doesn't always come from courtrooms or cops. Sometimes, it comes from the fire you leave behind. And the ashes they're forced to live in.